You didn't suddenly become stupid. I know it feels like that sometimes, like your brain used to sparkle and now it just stalls. Like you used to get it instantly and now you can't even start. Like there was a version of you who could read a chapter in one sitting, write an essay in a burst of energy, solve problems quickly, speak with confidence. And now you're staring at your screen, tired, distracted, and weirdly ashamed. If you were a former gifted kid, this hits differently because it's not just about productivity, it's about identity. When you were younger, people didn't just say you were capable, they said you were smart, special, going places. The kind of kid teachers pointed to like proof the system worked, the one adults predicted big things for, the one who got praised for being quick, for being advanced, for being mature for your age. And when you're a child, praise is not just a compliment. It becomes a map. It tells you who you are. It tells you what makes you lovable, what makes you safe, what makes you worth paying attention to. So if you're sitting here now thinking, why don't I feel smart anymore? The pain isn't just I'm not doing well. The pain is who am I if I'm not that person anymore? Let's unpack what's actually happening, because what you're experiencing is common, explainable, and fixable. And it has very little to do with your real intelligence. Most former gifted kids don't lose intelligence, they lose the conditions that made their intelligence look effortless. When you were a kid, school was structured, clear rules, clear expectations, clear feedback, a predictable system, do the work, get the grade, get the praise. Even if you were anxious, at least you knew what success looked like. Then adulthood arrives and suddenly everything becomes foggy. You're supposed to choose a career path, but there's no right answer. You're supposed to find your purpose, but no one can define what that even means. You're supposed to build a life, but the path isn't linear anymore. There's no gold star, no teacher, no one telling you, yes, this is correct. And your brain hates uncertainty, not because you're weak, because you're human. Uncertainty feels like danger to the nervous system. When you can't predict what will happen next, your brain starts scanning for threats. And that threat scanning state is the enemy of deep thinking. Because deep thinking requires something your nervous system doesn't have when it's stressed: safety. So here's a truth that might change how you see yourself. Mental sharpness is not a fixed trait, it's a state. When your body is under chronic stress, your brain prioritizes survival, not brilliance. It conserves energy, it narrows focus, it becomes reactive instead of reflective. You can still be intelligent, but you'll feel foggy because your brain is running a different program. That's why stress can make you forget words. That's why anxiety can make you blank out. That's why burnout makes you feel like your IQ dropped overnight. It didn't. Your brain is just exhausted. And former gifted kids are especially vulnerable to this exhaustion because many of them learned a dangerous equation early on. Smart equals worthy. Productive equals safe. Perfect equals loved. So you push, you overwork, you aim high, you judge yourself harshly. You carry this quiet pressure to prove that the adults who believed in you weren't wrong. Even if no one is pressuring you anymore, you do it to yourself. And over time, that pressure turns into burnout. Burnout doesn't always look like collapsing. Sometimes burnout looks like not caring, not starting, not focusing, feeling numb, feeling slow, feeling like you're dragging your brain through mud. Now let's talk about the gifted kid trap that nobody warns you about. If you were praised for being quick, you probably didn't have to develop patience. If you were praised for being naturally good, you probably didn't get taught how to struggle. A lot of gifted kids grow up with a fragile relationship with effort, not because they're arrogant, because the system accidentally trained them to believe that effort means something is wrong. When things came easily, smart felt like being fast, being correct, being ahead. So when something feels hard now, your brain doesn't interpret it as normal learning, it interprets it as failure. And failure is terrifying when your identity is built on excellence. So instead of engaging with the hard thing, you do what your nervous system thinks will protect you. You avoid, you procrastinate, you distract yourself. You wait until the last moment so if it goes badly, you can tell yourself, I could have done better, I just didn't have time. That's not laziness, that's self-protection. It's a way of keeping this smart identity alive by never fully risking it. Because if you try your best and still struggle, then the old story might collapse. And that old story is not just ego, it's your sense of self. So you get stuck in this painful loop. You feel pressure to do well because you used to be gifted. Pressure makes you anxious. Anxiety makes you avoid. Avoidance creates guilt. Guilt makes you feel like you're not smart anymore. And that shame creates even more anxiety. That loop can last for years. And it gets even worse in the modern world because your attention is under attack. Let's be honest, you're not trying to think in the same environment you had as a kid. You're trying to think in a world of constant interruptions, notifications, short-form content, endless comparison, constant noise. Even if you're intelligent, your focus can't go deep if it's being pulled in 10 directions all day. You might feel less smart simply because you're spending most of your time in shallow attention. Your brain becomes trained to skim, to scroll, to jump. That weakens the muscle of sustained focus, the very muscle that makes you feel sharp. So if your mind feels scattered, it might not be a personal flaw. It might be a predictable response to an environment designed to scatter you. Now, I want to mention something that many former gifted kids don't expect. Grief. You may be grieving a version of yourself. The version of you who felt limitless. The version of you who imagined a bright, clean future where your talent would naturally carry you forward. The version of you who didn't yet realize how complicated life is. When you grow up gifted, people often hand you an unspoken promise. If you're smart, life will be easier. Then life happens, and you realize intelligence doesn't protect you from everything. It doesn't protect you from heartbreak, rejection, mental health issues, family responsibilities, or the chaos of the real world. And that realization can feel like betrayal. So you look at your life now and think, this isn't what I was supposed to become. That gap between expectation and reality creates shame. And shame is a cognitive killer. Shame makes your mind collapse inward. It reduces creativity. It blocks confidence. It makes you second guess every thought before it even fully forms. Shame doesn't make you better. It makes you smaller. And a smaller mind feels like a less intelligent mind. Now let's address the fear hiding underneath the question, why don't I feel smart anymore? The fear is, what if I'm not special? Because when you were the gifted kid, being special was a form of security. It gave you a place, a role, a reason people noticed you, and maybe, if we're being very honest, it gave you a sense of control. Like, even if life was messy, at least you had this. So when you can't access that smart feeling now, it doesn't just feel inconvenient, it feels like losing your safety net. But here's the reframe that can soften the entire story. You were never meant to be special in the sense of being exceptional all the time. That's not a life, that's a performance, and performances are exhausting. What if the point of growing up isn't to stay gifted? What if the point is to become real? Because adulthood asks for a different kind of intelligence than childhood did. Childhood rewarded speed, memory, and correctness. Adulthood rewards emotional regulation, resilience, creativity, adaptability, boundaries, and the ability to move forward without perfect certainty. And the transition between those two worlds can feel like losing intelligence because the scoreboard changed. Also, as an adult, you are more aware. You see complexity, you see nuance, you see how much you don't know. As a child, you might have felt confident because the problems were smaller and the knowledge gaps were invisible. As an adult, you can feel less smart simply because you're finally seeing the size of the world. That isn't decline, that's depth. It's actually common for genuinely intelligent people to underestimate themselves because they can see the complexity others overlook. So what do you do with all of this? How do you actually start feeling sharp again? Not by forcing motivation, not by shaming yourself into productivity, but by rebuilding the conditions your mind needs to function. First, treat your brain like a body, not a machine. If you are sleep deprived, overstimulated, and stressed, you will not think clearly. That's not a mindset issue, that's biology. Protect sleep, eat regularly, move your body, give your nervous system signals of safety. Even short walks, sunlight, hydration, and consistent meals can change your mental clarity more than you expect. Second, rebuild focus in small doses. If your attention span feels broken, don't demand 2 hours of deep work tomorrow. Start with 10 minutes. Put your phone away, close tabs, do one small task fully, then stop. You're not proving intelligence, you're retraining attention. Third, redefine what smart means. If your definition of smart is fast, effortless, perfect, then you will constantly feel like you're losing, because real growth is not fast, effortless, or perfect. Try this definition instead. Smart is the ability to learn, adapt, and recover. Smart is staying curious when you feel behind. Smart is asking for help when you need it. Smart is tolerating the discomfort of not knowing and still taking the next step. Fourth, repair your relationship with failure. Former gifted kids fear failure like it's a public humiliation, but failure is not the opposite of intelligence. Avoiding failure is, because the people who become truly skilled are not the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who can be a beginner without collapsing into shame. So the next time you struggle, practice saying, "This is what learning feels like." Not, "I'm dumb," not, "I'm falling apart," just, "This is learning." Fifth, separate your worth from your output. This one is hard because it cuts into the old identity, but it's the reason so many gifted kids become anxious adults. If you only feel worthy when you achieve, your nervous system will live in constant threat, and a threatened nervous system cannot think deeply. Your mind needs rest to be intelligent. Your mind needs play to be creative. Your mind needs permission to be imperfect, to be free. Now, I want to speak directly to the person watching this who feels like they wasted their potential. You didn't waste it. You used it to survive. Maybe you used it to cope with expectations. Maybe you used it to become responsible too early. Maybe you used it to win approval. Maybe you used it to be the easy child who didn't cause trouble. That's still a use of intelligence. But now you're older and you're allowed to use your mind differently. You're allowed to learn things slowly. You're allowed to pursue things that don't impress anyone. You're allowed to be average at something for a while. You're allowed to redefine success. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need you to be the gifted kid forever. It needs you to be a whole person. And the moment you stop trying to prove you're smart is often the moment your intelligence comes back online, not as performance, as presence, as clarity, as the quiet confidence that you can handle what's next, even if you don't have a perfect answer yet. So if you don't feel smart anymore, don't panic. Consider the possibility that you're not broken. You're tired, you're overstimulated, you're carrying expectations that were never yours to begin with. You're trying to use a childhood identity to navigate adult complexity. And that's a mismatch, not a failure. Your intelligence didn't disappear. It's waiting for better conditions, less shame, and a version of you that doesn't need to be exceptional to feel safe. And you can build that version, starting with one small step today.